This is the BrickCity Podcast with your host, Maki. We've got some great topics to talk about today. Okay, to keep me unbiased, we have Nats Qualifier and Purple Enthusiast, AP Mac, as well as Black Lotus, Mr. Wares with us. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
I don't know if I'm considered a Purple Enthusiast anymore. I think
It's true.
I'm
Second
well
on
known
qualifier,
to be
right?
something else. I dare you to say that again.
No, I don't want to. What about you, Mr. Wares?
Black Loyalist. That sounds like something out of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Would you
Out
ever
of
fit
Star
into an
Wars,
ally?
yes.
I love every second of it. I want to be the droids.
Fair. Alright,
Oh.
let's move on to our first topic today. Something I'm sure people looking at Digimon TCG from afar are interested in, and current players can use to convince their friends to switch over. What is the difference between Digimon TCG and other TCGs? Let's start with you, AP Mac.
When I think of this game, I think of the artwork to begin with. It is so diverse. I can't think of anything. Honestly, most decks I play, it's based mostly on the artwork. And I think you can find a style that fits with almost anybody with this game is great. And also like the fact that every color has a certain way of play, but it's not all one-sided. Like we got purple with the trash mechanic, but there's different ways that the trash mechanic is being used, right? Also like most TCGs are like, oh, like if I break I lose, right? Digimon, it's like no. I'm gonna hard slam and I'm gonna let you take care of it. If you can't, I'll go into you, right? And yeah, that's like probably the biggest things I tell people. I'm like, it's great game for you to choose what playstyle you want. The art is amazing, right? And also, it's just so cheap to get into. Like, you can make a meta deck out of like almost nothing. Like, most players will probably even fund you for most of the deck itself because the community is just like that. So that's generally why, like, I would like that's exactly what I would tell people if they're like trying to get into the game compared to other games.
Alright, very good points. What about you, Mr. Wares? What are your thoughts?
Personally, I have to agree with AP. The community is very positive, very helpful. You will always see somebody trying to move their comments, uncommons to new players just to help them get started. I find that Digimon has taken certain traits and aspects from past games. The good example I always like to give when I'm trying to explain people how Digimon goes, it's like Duel Masters, but with a much more smoother flow and a much more balanced resource system.
Oh,
Being
Duel
able to,
Masters.
yeah, the good old one. Um, Additionally, it provides you with certain mechanics that you don't really see outside of Digimon. For example, being the inherited effects system, where if you build your deck appropriately enough, you can have your Digimon doing almost anything within that color or color combination. The resource system having the memory track is pretty unique. I don't think we've seen that system being used in any game. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on this, actually. You have games like Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic, which use a life system. You have the newest game, One Piece, which uses a life system very similar to Digimon. So for people who have jumped on the One Piece wagon over Digimon, kind of the same thing there. And yeah, there's just a serious creativity between each color being able to really command their own abilities. And Digimon do tend to be color coordinated. So if you're really big on Imperial, you can go blue-green. Yeah, I think it's a really good and easy game for new people who are new to TCGs to get involved in. And I haven't seen a community grow and flourish as quickly and as smoothly as Digimon, especially because we're 10 sets in now and the game is still going strong.
That's interesting. Now, something I did pick up is that both of you said that the community is amazing. Now, if I didn't know better, I'd think you'd be throwing shade at some other communities. Is there anything you want to say? Is there a specific community in particular you're thinking about when you say that?
I don't come from any TCGs, so I have no idea. I only hear from other players of other TCGs. So based on what I'm hearing and what we've experienced, at least in Brick City and like Digimon in general, like I think it's not like we're throwing shade. It feels like maybe that this is like something that's very uncommon. That's all. and just having a positive community that like people will just like share things and like give people deals on new players for getting like their first decks and such like that.
You were gonna say something, Mr. Wares?
Um, I'm not going to call out any specific communities, but I think when we do talk about toxicity within communities, I think the people who are listening right now immediately have a specific game coming to mind. Um, a game whose meta may or may not have reached such a dry and toxic state that people have been leaving in flocks to jump onto the Digimon and One Piece community.
Damn it! Now I'm confused. At first, I was thinking you were talking about Yu-Gi-Oh. Now I'm like, is it Magic? I don't know. Is it both?
No, Magic's community is very strong within Commander, so I'll leave that one alone.
Okay.
I will plead the fifth on that Yu-Gi-Oh comment.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, we'll leave that alone. It's getting too spicy. We know how the
Let's
Yu-Gi-Oh
not throw
boys be
hate
like.
too early. We just started the podcast. It'd be ashamed if we got, boycotted off already.
Fair. All right, something very interesting. So I know you guys said that the whole memory mechanic is very interesting and how other games don't really have it. Now, if I were to be honest, I would say that the whole memory mechanic is just another way to interfere with your opponent. Now, for example, in Digimon, you interfere with memory on your turn only. You can only interfere on their turn via memory with tamers and such, or a lucky hidden security. Now, I would ask, how do you feel the difference between Digimon's memory mechanic interfering with your opponent and, let's say, a game like Yu-Gi-Oh, where spells, traps, monster effects interfere with your opponent's turn, or even hand traps? Let's go with you first, Mr. Wares. You were first last time.
Go for it, Wares.
Well, that's fine. Personally, I find that having the memory track being control of resources, being able to manipulate to a specific degree on the resources your opponent gets, really introduces a different play style than other games. Whereas in Yu-Gi-Oh, the only limitations you have is it a monster, is it a spell, or is it a trap? Those are the only things that really dictate when you can play things. Whereas with Digimon, you have your turn interactions. You have interactions that can occur on opponent's turn through effects, and you have the security option effects that might pop up here and there. Beautiful example being Hammer Spark. If you can manipulate your opponent's memory in such a way and they don't have something to make sure that they start the turn at 3 or more, well, their turn might just straight up end. Whereas with Yu-Gi-Oh, the only real control you have is in the hand traps. I personally think that having a more controlled resource system over something like, let's say, for example, Magic the Gathering, where each turn you're building up lands. If you're playing a ramp deck, you might be 4 lands ahead of your opponent on a consistent basis. Whereas with Digimon, you might give your opponent 4 memory one turn and then 1 memory the next turn. It really forces you to really think and figure out what kind of interactions and predict what memory you might have and really tune your deck in accordance to these variations.
Some good points. What about you, Mark?
Well, actually, I want to hear what you think. You actually have some really good arguments. You joke around so much, but you actually have such good arguments.
That's just because I choose violence.
Personally, to be honest, I feel like you don't want more interaction, do you?
It depends. Cause my buddy got me into playing Pokemon for a little bit, right? And I dabbled in Yu-Gi-Oh back in the past, and I feel like the spectrum is literally Yu-Gi-Oh on the one side, on let's say the left side, and then Pokemon on the right side. Where Yu-Gi-Oh, you have so much interference to the point where it's like, all right, start my turn. All right, I play this. Oh, negated? Cool. Let me play this. Negated too? All right, let me summon this. Negated again? Wow, really? All right, let me try this then. Negated too? Well, guess I just end my turn then, right? Didn't get to do anything. And then for Pokemon, it's like, cool, I'm gonna do everything I want because the game says you're not allowed to stop me. And I'm like, all right, cool. I guess I'll play on my phone for like 10, 20 minutes. Let me know when it's my turn, right? So it's kind of like, I think Digimon with the memory system, you interfere enough to the point where it's like, it's a good, healthy amount. Whether Digimon argues that they should have a little bit more interference, less interference, it's fine, it's debatable. I think currently we're in a healthy spot.
I think, if I'm correct, Pokemon did have some sort of interference, and then like, did the community like riot over it? Like, TJ, do you remember or no?
As far as I can remember from the good old days, it was very one-sided. There's no like opposing turn interactions. Like you can't interact with your opponent's Pokemon, their setup. You can do certain things to mitigate the damage you take, but there's nothing that allows you to actually play on cards on your opponent's turn.
I think if someone can let us know, someone like a Pokemon enthusiast can let us know about the interactions of the sorts for Pokemon. I'm pretty sure there was something that happened, and then they ended up like maybe banning the cards, but I'm not too 100% sure.
That's
But
fair.
in terms of my opinion, for like interaction on your opponent's turn, I feel like we need to have some sort, because I feel like the raising area currently is too protected, but is really needed. Because imagine if a deck like Security Control was to have some sort of like egg zone interaction, they would be like tier 0 beyond, right? Like I can hear Maki salivating right now. He's just like, yeah, give me that. Give me that. Let me kill some like little Digitama babies.
Dude, you remember
Not
VT9?
aggressive.
Do you remember VT9 when people were building a stack in the bag, like just slapping a Sukui? I'm like, yeah, sure, come out. First turn,
Oh, I
you
wonder
go
who
do
came up with
shit.
that between us two.
Yeah, it was
If I'm
me. I
correct.
recommended you to do
Oh,
it, right?
yeah. Yeah.
That's all you. Alright,
I'll bring the receipts next time. Don't worry. Yeah. But
alright.
no, we need some sort of interaction. But the problem is we need that perfect balance of it can't be abusable. So as in abusable, as in like we can't hit those protected areas, those targeted protected areas. It has to be enough that every color can have some sort of interaction aside from blockers and security effects. But just based on my lack of knowledge, I just don't know what what possibly could be given that could do these things. If I'm, does anybody know about what comes out in the later sets? I think Seraphimon does have some opponent's turn. If it was Dark Seraphimon that had some opponent's turn stuff, am I correct?
So the EX4 Seraphimon says that when your security stack gets hit, you can de-digivolve something. But if we're talking in relation to, again, the breeding area, there's no interaction to the breeding area outside of, I believe, 2 tamers, which simply let you hatch an egg or return a Digitama from your trash back into the
Mhm.
your egg deck.
Oh, there's actually one more. Don't forget Digimon Emperor, right? If you move a level 4 or lower up,
Yes,
lose 2 memory, I think, or lose 3.
Yes, I believe. Yeah, you are correct on that one.
I think
There's
it's gain. Oh, well, either lose or gain with Tamers doesn't really matter because there isn't anything that can stop Tamers right now. But I think you're right. You're right about that one.
I think the
no, you
raising.
mean outside of like tamer destruction.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's what I mean. Like memory stoppers will not stop Tamers, is what I mean.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
No, those are some
So
good points. One other thing that I've actually heard from a Magic player, where they told me that they're dabbling in Digimon, but they treat it as a casual game, and their reasoning to me was because in Magic there's less RNG since all your cards are in the library. There's nothing hidden somewhere else, and you don't know what it is. But for Digimon, you still have to guess what those 5 cards in security is. If it's something major, it could just be like, oh wow, all my level 6 are in there? Well, I guess game over, right? And that's their reason for why they treat Digimon as a casual game, and they won't fully commit the Switch. Your thoughts, Mark? AP Mark?
uh as I said, this is going to come up so much. I don't play many card games. I think I played Yu-Gi-Oh back in high school with a Horus the Black Flame Dragon deck. Okay, so like I really don't. In my opinion, I see the RNG. I don't think it's that huge of a deal because like if that's the case and all your best stuff is in security, do you know what? You're meant to lose. I'm sorry. Right? There's nothing you can do, right? And there's nothing you can be mad about because that's just how the game works. But I do understand how some people can say it's less competitive that way. Because as we said, less interaction on your opponent's turn, right? So if your deck just kind of goes off, it goes off. There's nothing you can do about it, right? And also the fact is, as we said, if you just have all your stuff at the bottom of the deck, there is no searching deck in the game. So like if your shit's at the bottom of the deck, you're done. You're not getting there. If you're a red deck and all your level six are like the bottom 10 cards, you might as well just tell your opponent, hey, just do it quick, man. Right? So I can see why the Magic player would think, oh, less competitive due to RNG. I see it, but I do think Digimon does come with quite a bit more skill, especially when it comes to the control decks. Like if the control decks can get more advantage while keeping stack decks at bay, you definitely see a skill gap between the players with those type of matchups. But as I said, I don't know card games, man. I think this RNG is normal, but it could be completely like out of whack compared to other games.
That's fair. What about you, Mr. Wares?
Just to elaborate on a couple of small things there, the defining difference between the game like Magic the Gathering and Digimon is strictly in, aside from the base mechanics, because they are two separate games, is tutors versus non-tutors. Magic the Gathering contains a lot of cards which allow you to specifically look through your deck for certain cards. A common example, like the most known card I can think of off the top of my head is Demonic Tutor, which specifically lets you look for any card in your deck, add it to your hand. Whereas Digimon has made it a point of avoiding any form of tutors, and instead they do the reveal function where you reveal anywhere from 3 to 5 cards from the top of your deck, take a specified card, add it to your hand. In a way, that's better because you don't have to worry about there being this extensive tier system. Like where, to give an example, for Commander, you have casual Commander, you have level power 6 to 7 Commander, you have CEDH. It all goes on depending on how many tutors you play in the deck, how quickly you can find your combo pieces. Digimon really has a luck-based mechanic where your only real method of being able to dig yourself out of a brick, if you do get into one, is digging through the deck, revealing the top 4, revealing the top 5. My favorite is Caramon. On play, reveal 5, try to add a Tamer and a Digimon to your hand of the specified typing. And I personally think that's really healthy for the game to avoid tutors. It really helps with the luck mechanic, and it does, as AP Mac mentioned, sometimes you just end up in a game where you're drawing these hands and you're just praying every draw that you get that one card that lets you like rebuild that stack and lets you get back into the game.
Now, if I'm understanding this correctly, it sounds like you're saying the current level of RNG Digimon has is actually healthy for the game. Is that correct?
RNG in any game is always going to be healthy, so long as it doesn't turn into a situation where you draw your opening hand and you bricking equals you losing. Now, Digimon in the beginning did have a little bit of a hiccup in that particular regard.
Yeah, I heard.
But Digimon was a brand new game. It was ironing out the kinks. And I think with each new set, we're 10 sets in now. Well, we're more than 10 sets in if you count the EX sets. But the importance of Digimon is that it's constantly adapting and evolving. And they're always trying to experiment with different things. And as more sets have come out, these new these new Digimon come out with more on-play effects that let you dig through your deck for, the cards that help you keep the consistency flowing. And if we were to compare like BT1, the blue Omnimon deck, to Metal Guru X right now, there is a staggering difference not only in gameplay, but how quickly you get to play, you know, and reach the, for lack of a better word, the climax of your deck, what the intended purpose of your deck is.
Oh yeah, the climax.
That's
Oh
true.
no.
Like, I hear people complain
Oh.
about opening hands of like level 5s and higher only in options, but I'm like, I see that all the time. I just work through it. I don't see why you complain.
You shut up. I've sadly joined you. Fuck you. Second man's over here.
Dude, I just have the same hand. I don't know why you guys complain. But no, it's fair, and I agree. Like, Bandai has made a lot of good changes. Like, for example, I think we complain about breaking so much that they introduced the memory boost cards, right, to help you search and also gain memory later on in the game. I think that was actually very healthy.
That was a real dude. Honestly, when they introduced those cards, I think it really elevated a lot of decks. It didn't overpower the strong colors like blue and such because they already had such memory manipulation anyways. It kind of made them choose: do I take the immediate memory or do I take the search and like basically show my opponent that I can gain this so they can memory block me later. It's like I rarely nowadays see them playing both Hammer Sparks and Blue Memory Boost, but like Red with Red Memory Boost has been so good.
No, I agree. And the best thing I think about that is when they introduced it, they didn't put it as like a super rare in a set. They're just like, no, a star deck that you're going to buy because we reprinted staple cards like Gaia Force and Hammer Spark. And no, it's not one random. You get was it 2 of each or was it 1 of each color in each star deck?
No, I think it was one of each color in each starter deck. So
Yeah.
like no matter what you buy the starter deck, you get like like one of each.
Yeah, it's very good. And then like what the relatively expensive part is if you wanted to get the alt art version from the box topper in BT6. I think they did it pretty well.
But the box topper ones look so much better.
Yeah, they
Oh,
look so much better.
significantly so. I don't want to talk about how many black boosts I own of the alt art variety.
Jesus. It's okay. It's for a good
Listen,
cause.
all right, that curry, they're eating curry. It looks great.
It's it's such a fun altar, man. Like there's just it's enough for everyone. There's like I don't think there's anyone that really doesn't like that altar.
Yeah, each one is actually a little bit different, and it's good. Like what Red has, I think it was ketchup and like
Spaghetti, no spaghetti. I
Okay.
think.
Blue was
think.
ice cream, shaved ice.
Yeah.
I know yellow was pancakes.
Yes.
Purple's eating
Yes,
a
it is.
steak.
Yep, purple was steak. I forget what black and green
Black
was.
said curry, right? And
Black, they're eating curried rice.
salad for Mimi for the green boost.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Makes sense. Yes,
it's
it all
very
makes
good at
sense.
work. Now, another topic that's pretty interesting is something similar to the Digimon security security mechanic is the Pokemon's prizing system. Would you like to speak about the differences or similarities of those two and which you think is better? Let's start with you, Mr. Wares.
So the prize mechanic does slightly work in reverse than the life mechanic, whereas in Pokemon you want to gain all your prizes, and you do so by defeating your opponent's Pokemon, depending if it's a tag team or whatnot, dictates how many prizes you get. Whereas in Digimon, it's your security are very similar to Duel Masters. Your security are your shields. I personally really like that aspect of it because similar to how in Duel Masters you have triggers, you have security option effects, both within option cards, tamers, and Digimon. So granted that you build the deck a certain way, you can always have some kind of bomb. And my favorite, example of this is in D-Brigade. D-Brigade is a wonderful anti-meta deck because you get all these options to like ultimate flares, iron fisted onslaughts. That one
Secon with
option,
dinosaurs.
yeah, Secon with military dinosaurs.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with that. I refuse to play Secon, so I will use D-Brigade as the example. So, whereas with Pokemon, you're getting hand advantage for basically achieving the goal of the game. Within Digimon, you are gaining potential bombs every time they hit your security. Now, although the cards won't go to your hand, just having that, layer of
Well, it does.
not
Some of them can go to your hand,
some
but
do
I
go
know,
to
yeah,
hand.
generally know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, some cards do go to hand. They do have the security effect that do trigger these things, um, but having the security have a possible chance, again, going into the RNG factor of the game, um, it's just a really strong mechanic to have implemented into the game. And I don't think we've really seen that mechanic again since Duel Masters, Kaijudo. Um, Now we're seeing to a certain degree in One Piece, where when every time you take a hit from your life, unless the life has been trashed, it gets added to your hand, and they also have trigger effects as well. But it was a really refreshing idea to see come back into the TCG community or format. I'll say, um, having the security system come in.
Okay. AP Mac, your thoughts?
I don't play Pokemon. I don't
Okay,
know anything about that game, man.
it's okay.
I
It's
don't
okay.
know. I'm so
Um,
stupid. Andrew, you
well,
definitely know way more about this than I do.
yeah. And one day we'll go into talk about my dabbles into Pokemon and what and how I somehow got away from the freaking what's the word, the not sex offender list, but like what, the predator list.
I beg your pardon.
Oh my god,
All right,
dude!
all right,
Context, my guy.
all
Yo,
right,
the
all right.
best
Context,
quote
context.
the
Go.
best quote I've ever heard from someone. I think Kiki told me this. A kid told Maki, "I hope you don't hurt my Pokemon," and he said, "Don't worry, I won't touch them," and then proceeds to deck them out.
Was that with
All right.
Guzzlords?
No, it was
Oh my
Durant.
god!
Oh, Durantville. Oh, that's great.
All right,
The fact that he's
context.
like, go for it, man, go for it.
All right. So I started playing Pokemon because my buddy wanted me to do it, but I didn't want to spend money. So I'm like, yo, what's a cheap deck that can ruin someone's day? So I'm like, yo, deck out, right? Just mill them out. No problem. We got this. So I started buying the cards for Durant. I think it costed maybe between 30 to 40 bucks. And then I went to the locals upper hand. Now for their Pokemon, it's like they've got a good showing. I think about 20 people, but we're talking about 80% are children, right? Children like 10 and younger. Their parents come with them to supervise. And I mean, they gotta learn. So I just went in, paired up with a little girl. I think she was like
Dick.
like
You're
8.
such a dick.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is sounding a lot more and more like a child predator, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about this.
Dude, I told you I didn't touch them. I didn't touch them. I didn't touch their cards. I didn't touch the Pokemon. I did not attack. All right, I got attacked.
I said Yamete, and they
Yeah. So I sat down, and I'm shuffling my deck. The little girl's shuffling her deck, and then she gets first turn, and she's playing these cards, and she plays Whimsicott V, and she's, I'm being nice as well, and she's telling me how it's her favorite Pokemon. It's so cute, and she's like, please don't hurt my Whimsicott, and I'm like, yeah, no problem. Don't worry, I won't damage your Whimsicott at all, right? I respect you. And I start playing, like, let's play Durant, another Durant, level ball, grab a Durant, another level ball, grab a Durant, right? And all the while, I'm being nice. So I'm trying to, like, let her know. I'm like, level ball, grab a Durant, level ball again. This might surprise you, but I'm grabbing another Durant. And she wasn't having any of it. She's like, I'm not surprised. I'm like, all right, cool. This is how we're going to be. Sure, no problem. And I'm just like, cool, put down the the stadium. I think it's like something mine. So it's like if you retreat, you gotta pay 2 extra to do it. And I'm like, cool, energy, attack, mill 4 from the top of your deck. Okay, your turn. She tries attack, doesn't have energy. I'm like, cool, my turn again. All right, mill 4 again. And that's just how the game went. She just tried to hurt me. Sometimes she hurt me, killed my Pokemon. All right, mill 2. All right, bring it back. All right, mill 4 again. And sooner or later, she ran out of cards in her deck.
So,
Right?
Oh
from
my
what I'm
God.
understanding, you didn't physically hurt her, but you mentally traumatized her.
Yeah, you shouldn't attack people. I'm just teaching. You shouldn't be attacking people.
I hate how he's not saying the wrong thing. He's just saying such a stupid thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, genders of all ages, our local security control player.
Dude,
God.
the best shit was like I was being nice. Like I said, even when I saw that she wasn't having fun, I tried to make some witty comments to bring a smile to her face. Like for example, like the fifth time I milled four, I'm like, "Hey, do you know what my favorite movie is? Pixar's Ants," because I was doing the
Oh.
ratings. Her
I
dad
hate
came up to
you.
me after that game. His dad walked up to me, he's like, "I heard you're running a mill deck." I'm like, "Your daughter rat me out?" And she's like, "No, a lot of children are complaining right now." But apparently he plays Magic the Gathering, so he just gave me props. He's like, "It takes a lot of balls to come here and do this to children."
Yo, stop. God damn it. Oh my god.
That's like the equivalence of somebody playing Fennec's God of Deceit with like Eater of the Dead combo. It's like you can't be mad because it's an
Wait, hold
interesting
on. What is that?
combo.
Wait, explain to me. Explain to me.
All right. So the way this combo effectively works is Fennec's God of Deceit says you can tap one of your other creatures to mill your opponent. I think it's the top cards of their deck equal to the toughness of the card. I think it is. And Eater of the Dead has one effect. It's a really old card. And the only effect it has is you can remove two creatures from a player's graveyard to untap this creature. So all you do is you tap Eater of the Dead. I think they mill 4. You eat the creatures that go into the graveyard, which then untaps it, and then you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again.
Wait, hold up. Isn't that a one card combo then?
Technically 2-card combo because you need your commander and you need the card.
Oh,
But
okay.
But Mill is one of those strategies that you see in every single game, and for some reason, it hurts the ego more than as if you were just to hit them really hard with something.
Yo, one day Digimon will have a mill deck. Now,
We almost did, and then they banned the cards that made it a mill deck.
fair.
Wait, what?
There was a loop going around once upon a time before Call into Darkness got hit to 1, and it involved the Magidramons.
Ooh.
Though maybe at some point I'll see if I can find the deck list and we can put it in the description of this. But yeah, it was a deck that was kind of running around a little bit in Japan and Malaysia, and then
That's funny.
and then right before we were going to receive the cards to make it a possibility, Bondi was like, "Yeah, no, Calling to Darkness at 1. We're not. No mill today. No, thank you."
Wait, this is recent then.
Yeah, this was prior to the Calling to Darkness ban list. I'll see if I
Oh
can
my
find it and we
God.
can put it in the description.
Yo, because technically, what the Growlmon for 2, you milled.
Yep.
Oh no, is that a Digivolve or a deletion effect? I know it's mistranslated.
I believe it's on Digimon. You're talking about the EX3 one, right?
EX3 one, yeah. So you milled both players mill 2, and then both players mill 2 more with the War Growl.
I think it's 3 with War Growl.
Yeah, War
Somebody
Growl's
would have to. Yeah.
So essentially, Magidramon, if you make that whole line, that's 10 mills. Aren't you just milling yourself out?
Yeah, but you got Calling in Darkness. Right?
That's
It's gonna-
one card.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if you mill yourself out on your turn. What matters is that you also mill your opponent out on your turn. Because then you pass, and then they're like, "Oop, time to draw from my deck. Oh, wait."
Oh, wait. In my mind right now, you lose this.
I mean, we can always, we can always test
Am
this
I
one
wrong?
day.
Am I wrong? No, I want to test this. I know it's shit, but I want to test this because in my mind, you digivolve, you draw. Already, you're -1 compared to them. You digivolve, you draw, you mill. You digivolve, you draw, you mill. You're just killing yourself at that point, aren't you?
Yeah, but
Well,
who
again-
Digivolve? Who drew more through Digivolve before that?
You got to remember, you only lose when you have to draw the first card of your turn.
No. What he's
So-
saying is because you Digivolved as well as trashed, technically speaking, you removed 4 cards off the War Growlmon, and your opponent only removed 3.
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You run out of your deck first. You only lose on when you have to draw that card in the beginning of your turn, right? So you might have no deck, but so long as you can keep going and reach for the stars,
Or
hey.
you can run the Avenged Kid if
Yeah,
you
but
don't kill it.
if your opponent has options, then you're gonna have a bad day.
But if you make the deck right, think about this. Okay, hear me out. 15 option cards.
I
Mill
feel like
most of them. And then Avenged Kid put them back. Maybe they put 2 back. Whatever. You're good. Profit.
profit.
Am I wrong to try to
No,
make
you're not
this
wrong.
deck, even though it's
It's
garbage?
free real estate. It's all on you. I demand to see this at locals next week or this
Dude,
week.
All right, before we move on
um,
to the next topic, though, there is one
yeah.
more
All right.
important part that I want to ask. What is your thoughts about the lack of splashable cards in Digimon compared to games like Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon? Let's start with you, AP Mock.
I really wish we had like random good cards because I don't know about splashable cards. If we're talking about splashable cards per color, then yeah, that'd be really good to have. But I don't think we should have like overall like staple splashable cards like Death X. Like okay, Death X is not a bad card. I think Death X is needed in the game. But I don't think we need to I don't think we need to have cards that no matter what deck you have, if you have a Digimon ignore color effect, you play this card. Like I don't think we need those kind of cards, but each color it would be really nice to have like that one staple card that they have that every purple deck would run 2 of maybe. Like it'd be weird not to run 2 of unless you really don't have the space for it.
I mean, don't you? If you're talking about that, don't you already have it? Think about it. Eismon Scatter Mode. What purple deck would not run it?
Mm,
Gallantmon.
Gallantmon, purple Gallantmon would not run that.
Sorry, what? All I heard was garbage. Is that a deck?
Oh, you know what, man? I know you're not wrong, but that hurt a little.
That sounds true.
So
Dude, just wait. They'll get support in EX4, right?
why you do this to me,
What
dude?
is that like next year?
Dude, that's like next year, and like I don't even know when, man.
All right, what are your thoughts, Mr. Wares?
Um, yeah, just to add on to that, the Death X is a necessary meta card that all decks can utilize, and honestly, I think almost every deck that has topped has probably played at least one copy of it just because they could. Um, I think if we're going to be trying to compare other card games to this, like the equivalents would be like, all right, for Commander and Magic the Gathering, if you're playing black, you're playing a Demonic Tutor. If you're playing red, you're playing a Wheel of Fortune, assuming you can afford it. Um, and for
Wait, how
Digimon,
expensive would that be?
I
How
think
much?
Wheel of Fortune right now on the cheaper end. I think it's around, if I were to guess, like super heavy played, $75 to like decent condition being around like $200. And then there's the other thing of like, oh, what set did you get it from? Then it could like
Oh
skyrocket to
my
like
god!
$700 or
I'm
I
sorry, did you
just
say
searched it up
700 for
right
one
now.
card?
yeah, yeah.
What the
The Magic the Gathering has a lot of cards that easily skyrocket. Like Gaia's Cradle's like 1,300 last I checked.
Dude, I just searched it up on TCG now. I think the lowest one you'll see is $183. In Digimon terms, that's a no-go, bud. That's
What are you talking about? That's an alt art Death X and a reg art Death X. You're okay.
that's an Altar and Regard together.
It's
Oh my
okay.
god, this is disgusting. I'm
I
cheap, man. So no shot that I would get this card. I just lose. I would
I feel
just
like I feel like I'm being judged right now.
nah, nah, you're good. Go
I
for it,
can't
go for it.
afford
But
that lifestyle.
yeah, so coming back to the topic, like it, I do agree that certain decks should have generalized specific staple cards. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh, we have Ash Blossoms, we have called from oh my god, called by the grave, uh, Harpy's Feather Duster? Question mark. Regeki. The list goes on. There's a lot. Nibiru. There's a bunch of tech cards and staple cards in Yu-Gi-Oh. But in Digimon, we don't really have that. Cards that are good in one deck aren't going to be necessarily good for another deck. And when we look at like the tech cards, like can't reduce play cost, I believe only 3 colors have that ability. Whereas, Digimon that negate memory gain outside of Tamers, again, I think there's only 3 colors that get to utilize that. And we don't really see those, essential effects spread throughout the entirety of the colors. Would it be nice to see? Yeah, of course. Is it needed? I think that's just really the question here. I think an example you gave me was Jackraid. Jackraid isn't going to be essentially a card that you're going to see in every single deck. It's going to be more specifically tuned towards decks that want to fill up. Purple Loop is like the biggest one. Certain Beelzemon decks used to play, I think, 2 copies.
Yeah, I
And
think so.
like I think rookie line, like every purple deck plays a Gazimon, but that's because Gazimon is a very good general tech card, same as Psychemon. Most black decks that can afford to are playing Chikurimon. But those effects, those specific key effects, don't translate to every color of the pie. Um, it would be nice to see, but it doesn't look like we'll be seeing that in the foreseeable future. All the way up to EX4, we don't get any more of those kinds of effects. And I can't help but wonder, is that a balancing issue or a preventative measure?
I think maybe in terms of, I think they're trying to balance it out. Like blue, I think every color generally only has 2 stoppers of some sort. Um, just call me out if I'm wrong, but I think red has cannot reduce Digivolve cost, and they also have cannot reduce play cost. Is that the only ones they have?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then purple has no memory gain outside Tamer and no play cost reduction.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then green has no memory gain and cannot play Digimon from effects.
Digivolve.
Is that the only
No,
2 they have,
they
or
have
do they
3.
have one more? They have 3. What's the third one?
Third one is cannot reduce Digivolution cost.
But they have that for themselves? Who does that?
I think so. Am I wrong?
I can't.
Because I know some decks have 3. Like, for example, black has 3. They have memory stoppers. They have cannot reduce on
Reduce play cost.
and they cannot play by effects.
Wait, who's the one
No,
that's...
it's cannot ignore
Ignore,
Digivolution requirements. The Kukuomon, the one card that I don't think has ever seen play.
Like the whole idea, I feel like the whole idea with that card was to stop. Was it Bond of Friendship?
Bond.
But it already just got power creeped.
Exactly. So going back on that, I think what color did I miss? No, we just talked about black. Yellow has no reduction of Digivolve cost, and cannot play from effect. Right? Is there anything else I'm missing from that one?
I think that's all they have right now.
Yeah. And then that should be all the colors, or am I colorblind? No, blue.
Red.
Blue
has Sayako, which is can't reduce digi costs. They have Madoki Beta, which is can't gain memory outside of Tamers.
Do they have another one?
Oh, we forgot Pillowmon for yellow.
Oh yes, yellow. No, that's the one. The Pillowmon is the cannot play from effects.
Oh, the yellow one's vanilla. Yeah.
So I think the reason why they don't want to give them more is that every color has 2 floodgates. And I think, yes, blue has the 2 best floodgates in terms of cannot gain memory and cannot reduce Digivolve cost, which is just unfortunate because of how strong that the color is. But I think the reason why they're not doing that is because everything is kind of balanced in terms of no one color has too much.
No, that's fair. That is pretty fair.
Like, do you think the meta would shift crazy amounts if, say, every color had at least no memory, no Digivolve cost, and no, let's say, which do you think is more deterrent? Is more of a deterrent? Reducing play cost or cannot play from effects?
It's really based off of the meta. Like, think about
Yeah.
the Digivolution cost, right? That was very powerful during the hybrid era.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
right? And because I think Red did have one, but Red just
Red
wasn't
did.
strong enough.
Was it Gaussmon? Gaussmon,
Gauss.
yes.
One,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. And the thing about before the nerf to Cross Hearts, any deck that did not have a natural stop preventing reduced play cost, you're fucked. Like, you're so done.
Yeah, I think that was really important to make sure you at least make them have the out.
Hmm.
Because essentially, if you played a deck that didn't have that, like say, what was it? No, purple, red, and black has. So say you played blue. No, say you played green against them, right? Essentially, they're like, okay, if I have the combo, you're done. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop me,
Yep.
right? I
Okay.
think that is yeah, no. So going back to the topic though, so if we were to say give everybody that kind of thing, like say we had they had four floodgates, every color had four floodgates, how would that shape each color? Would that nerf some colors in the meta? So because you know how blue has the best ones, right? Would that make other decks in other colors uh more prone to being top tier because they have more floodgates to tech in? Do you think?
I certainly feel like if every color had like those specific effects, you would see a rather, I don't want to say an aggressive shift, but you would most certainly be seeing them played in every single deck. Um, I think almost every current meta deck has some form of like cost reduction, has some form of memory gain, like uh trying to come up. Oh, Bloomlord. Oh my god, perfect example. Being able to pass turn, digivolve into Bloomlord, and then regain a bunch of memory. Like you wouldn't see Bloomlord as much in the meta as we're currently seeing it. Um, we wouldn't see any kind of digisorption because digisorption reduces cost when you in order to digivolve, and you wouldn't be able to do that with if every color had a Sayakobon.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I
it,
see.
it would certainly like change the meta uh, to a point where, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, um, blue would probably still be coming up on top. Well, actually, you would just see everybody playing Grandis
Oh yeah.
because Grandis doesn't gain memory; your opponent loses memory.
Oh
A
no,
deck
not
that
true.
beats
Uh,
itself.
Weedmon. Digiburst. That's a game.
yeah, but I feel like the Weedmon Digiburst is
It's
not
not
as
necessary.
I
you for
think
sure you would
it
see
helps
a
the
you would
tempo.
see some form of a change because I believe most top decks for Grandis are playing 4 green boosts.
Yep.
But if every deck is just playing, these tech cards, these meta call cards, then you would see so many decks playing like the overall structure of a lot of the decks we see would be completely different. Or maybe they wouldn't because we flip the page here and we go back to the book of when we see Lilith Loop, or is it Merva or Minerva? I always get them confused
Minerva,
currently. Minerva. Like
Lolly Loop.
on paper, if I play a Gazimon, Minerva Loop should have a terrible time, right? But Minerva Loop is already teched in. What is it? 1, 2 Death Claws,
Yep.
um, just to get around that. Because what are the odds? I mean, sure, you'll find it'll happen occasionally where they'll have 2 Gazimons on the board, and you're like, oh wow, this is infuriating. But more often than not, it's only going to be one on the board, and then they're going to have like another body trying to stack up on the side. Um, you would just see a lot more like low cost removal, like blue would play Trident. What the hell would black do?
Cry.
Oh, I was about to say that too.
Just
Yeah,
cry.
no, your black
Like
has
Iron Fist.
yeah, burn 8 ultimate flare or burn 8 iron fist. I mean, you have like, oh wait, it's not called genocide attack anymore. What is it called? Dark side attack.
I was gonna say like
We
Oh,
have
yeah.
the original name for dark side attack is genocide attack. You would see
Damn.
dark roars being used because it's a 3 cost to lead a rookie. So okay, there are some weird tech cards for black, but black is primarily de-digivolve. But yeah, you would just see a lot more of these like small, cheap option cards that just let you get rid of the rookies to kind of overcome that. So you would definitely see a change in the meta that way.
Would you think it would balance out the colors a bit more?
I don't think so.
Unfortunately, I don't think so, because we even now we do have a serious imbalance in colors, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Like it's not like game ending, but and trying, most assuredly not to be biased here, but we saw black on the top tier list for a couple of months, and then they're like, hey, that's a nice Doru grade, be a shame if you lost it.
In Ben's words, bring back our boy.
Yeah.
He did nothing wrong.
So there were some good discussions there. I'd say, if I were to sum it up, I'd say that Digimon is currently in a very good spot compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering right now. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is suffering from Tier 0 format, and
Elemental.
Yo, I thought we're not supposed to name anything, man.
That's just true. I'm just stating facts here, right?
I see.
And Magic the Gathering seems quite expensive to jump in right now. If you want to, and I'm saying jump in and consistently get X1 at locals. So
Yes, I do believe so.
that's all the time we have for today. Until next time.